All right, talking Jersey more, Vinny and Dino. Vinny.
We got a celebrity.
We have a celebrity
it's
here.
About time.
Look at this. Scott Reeves.
Celebrities.
General Hospital and what else? Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. Young and the Restless.
Young and the Restless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The resume is unbelievable.
It's incredible.
And he just finished a show at Uncle Vinny's.
I did.
It was awesome.
Probably my favorite venue to play of all time. And
Probably.
That's the truth.
Probably. Yeah.
Definitely my
Definitely your favorite venue to
That
play.
sounds better.
Who else does a podcast? I mean, come on.
Come on.
So anyway, and we got some studio audience hanging around.
right.
Yeah.
I got my
Say hi,
I got
everybody.
my offspring.
Your offspring. I've been referred to as a
Offspring.
production
Wait a
and an
minute.
offspring.
You called her
tonight.
Richie Sambora earlier tonight. so-
I did well.
He's
I
called
caught
me-
that. You didn't think I heard that?
He's called me several things. He called me a production of him and my
Well, you
mom.
kinda
And he
were.
called me Richie Sambora. And then he
She
called
was a
me
Scott and Missy Reeves
an
production.
offspring.
I have a couple productions myself.
Yeah.
There you go. It makes sense.
I'm trying to find
You're
a
okay?
production. I have
Yeah.
no productions. I'm like
They shut you
productionless.
down?
Production.
Oh man.
I think I'm condemned.
Well, you know,
So anyway, you don't know about Scott's wife. She's from Long Branch.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she
a
was
Jersey
born.
girl.
She was born in Red Bank. Well, I grew up in Long Branch.
Oh, nice.
And I went to Monmouth Regional.
Nice.
And yep. And so she is definitely a Jersey girl.
Love Jersey girls.
Yeah, I married up, man.
I know the feeling.
How'd you guys meet?
We met on Days of Our Lives.
Okay.
Back in 1988. Wow. Yeah.
And that was filmed out west.
That's filmed out west.
Okay.
At NBC Studios. At the time, it was at Sunset Gower Studios over in Hollywood. Now they're in Burbank, but it was 1988. I had just come on the show, and I was on that show for about a year. And it wasn't until I was leaving the show, we hadn't spoken two words to each other as far as dialogue was concerned on the show.
Okay, so you're not on the same set. All right.
Not in the same storyline. And the day that was supposed to be my last day on the show, I had booked a movie, so I was having to leave and not be on the show anymore. So my last day, I was so sick I couldn't make it into work, and that was the day that we were supposed to actually have a scene together. And so I went back and visited her about 2 months later, I wasn't intending to visit her, but I visited the set and to see friends that I had made, and we saw each other, and it kind of struck me. And so and about a week later, I called her up, and I asked her over to hang out with me and some friends, and that was February 24th, 1989.
That was the date.
And that was the first date.
Nice.
And about a month and a week later, April 1st, April Fool's Day, ironically, I asked her to marry me in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Wow.
Wow.
Dad.
Quite the romance.
Look at that.
It is.
And in March 24th of this year, or March 23rd, we will have been married 24 years.
24.
years.
24 years.
Wow.
Holy cow.
March 23rd, 1990.
Is it like taboo, though? You really shouldn't be dating anybody on the show.
You know what? I vowed never to date an actress, ever. I said,
Actress, period.
Actress, period.
Why?
Not even on the show.
Are you kidding?
Do we have enough time?
Dino's met plenty of them.
Oh, yeah.
I love them
yeah.
all. They're great.
They're great.
we know you do. Yes.
I do. But
But some of them are women.
some of them are women.
My wife's in the audience. I'm not saying a word.
I know, you're not allowed
My
to.
wife was the exception to the rule. You know.
There you go.
I said, she was. I found. Wow, she was a winner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't pass that up.
And then
This is what came
And then
from
I came
the
from.
lovely Emily.
the lovely Emily
and talented.
Oh,
Very
thank
talented.
Very
you.
talented.
Very
Thank
talented.
you guys so much.
my little brother, her little brother.
My little brother.
My little brother came from it. That's
Road dog.
weird.
That does sound weird. Road dog.
Road dog.
Bro dog.
Bro dog.
Road dog. Oh,
Road dog.
yeah,
Road
Road
dog.
dog
Because
97.
we go by Twitter
Road-
handles here. We don't
Road
go by
dog
no names
97.
anymore.
Handles.
That's-
He's
that
Road
would-
Dog 97.
that would be Larry.
He's got his little hashtag LLL living like
Living
Larry.
like Larry. That's his
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
So
You should market that.
He's gonna make bumper stickers. Living like Larry.
So now you're off the show now. So now what's in store for you?
Well, we've been on the road doing Nashville Nights.
Okay.
And I intend to. This weekend actually was our maiden voyage, and hopefully it's something that people like well enough. We're trying to bring a taste of Nashville outside of Nashville because not everyone can make the trip down there. And for those of you who watch the show Nashville, they depict a place where songwriters go and showcase their new stuff, original stuff, hits that they've written that otherwise people wouldn't have known they wrote.
All kinds of music now?
All kinds of music.
So it's not just country.
It's
then?
not just country,
Oh,
no,
okay.
down,
That's great.
especially nowadays.
Nice.
I mean, you have people like Sheryl Crow in town, Kid Rock,
Gavin DeGraw.
Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, all sorts of people are coming to town. And Steven Tyler was there the other night. He popped in, sat down, and played a song. And the Bluebird Cafe is the place that's depicted on the show Nashville, which really exists. So we wanted to kind of bring the Bluebird Cafe to the East Coast. And we want to keep bringing it here, and I want to start bringing various writers with me, along with Emily, to share that with people who otherwise can't go to see.
Do you know what the #1 genre of music is in New Jersey now?
Country music?
Country.
That's crazy.
That doesn't surprise me. It really does.
Shocks me. Because I don't listen to country, to be honest with you.
funny?
Besides you, I don't listen to country.
Yeah.
But yeah, #1 in New
Wow.
Jersey is country right now.
That's amazing.
That's what my wife listens to all the time.
Well,
Yeah.
the Guidos left and all gone.
No, there's a couple left sitting there. We're bookends.
We don't have 2 Guidos left.
It's true though, man. I mean, country music. I think it speaks to your heart, and I
Yep.
think and that's why I feel like other people from other genres are crossing over. They're coming to Nashville, and they're
That's
coming. Again, like the Sheryl Crows, and you see Tim McGraw doing stuff with Nelly, and things like that, where you're going, what? And they're starting to come and be a part of Nashville. John Mayer's been to Nashville quite a bit to
Yeah.
write.
Okay.
Well, the style has changed over the last probably 25, 30 years.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not,
So much
it's not your
so.
daddy's country music like it used to be.
It's definitely changed.
It crosses over to pop a lot more than it used to.
It's not like
Very
the
much
horse
so.
is dying or anything like that, like it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Back in
not
the
like
day,
the
it's
dog
like
died.
Kicking the dog and getting drunk and
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Spittoon.
Exactly.
That's all gone.
Carrie Underwood smashing the headlights with a bat and everything like that.
Right.
Yeah,
You can eat
That's
crackers in
changed.
my bed anytime. That kind of.
I like that.
Well, no, that was Barbara Mandrelli.
What was that?
Barbara Mandrell.
You can eat crackers in my bed anytime.
Remember
that was a
Louise?
line from a
Never heard-
song.
What?
Wow.
I remember Louise Mandrell. I remember the Mandrell sisters.
Yeah.
The Mandrell sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mandrell.
Come on, you didn't watch
I must have been.
Belleville?
I must have been a nightclub back then. I wasn't listening to that.
Yeah.
But I got a question for you. It always amazes me because I know you guys are professional on the scene and everything, but
Oh boy.
when you're in an intimate, and you close your ears now because it's daddy now.
Oh no.
When you're in an intimate
Maybe I need to
session
Yeah.
on stage or on your set.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Love scene.
Yeah,
there you
love
go.
scenes.
That's it.
I'm trying to be nice when you're throwing
It's
shit
okay.
right here.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I have bad
How
stuff.
do you control? I understand you're married and everything. That's totally at your job. How the freak do you control yourself?
He's a professional.
Honestly,
Oh man, you know
I don't know
what?
if I want to hear the
I want to hear your answer, and I'll tell you a story why. But I'm going to hear
You
your
know
answer.
what? It's funny. It really is honestly so technical, and you have 50 people going, move an inch to the left, and okay, I'm gonna try to make this as real as possible, and it's funny because and it's funny as you get older on those shows, they give all that stuff most of the time to the younger generations, but when you're doing stuff like that, the people so well. Like I know the people my wife works with
Right.
so well, and there's a mutual respect and trust, and so it's funny. You don't really. It's just always been part of it, and so there's
really
now
scripted.
and very scripted. And I suppose there are people who are a little bit freer with that kind of stuff, and it depends on
Okay.
the individual.
All right.
So, and I have a great wife.
You do. She's a lovely wife. Lovely wife. Melissa's great.
Yeah.
What's the worst scene you ever did?
The
Worst scene you ever did.
The worst
that you wish you
scene.
never had to be involved in.
The worst scene.
Have you ever been killed?
Yeah, I was. Oh, that was great. I was. That was when I left The Young and the Restless.
Okay.
I was getting married to Victoria for like the 4th time, I think,
Okay.
and it's soap opera.
Soap operas, yeah.
And so my 3rd ex-wife, soap opera, she was crazy, and it was like a Fatal Attraction kind of thing.
Okay.
So as Victoria and I were planning our wedding, so was my 3rd psychotic ex-wife, thinking it was her wedding paralleling the Victoria Ryan wedding.
Okay.
She was nuts. It was a very Fatal Attraction storyline. And she ends up showing up at my wedding. She had found Victoria in the bridal room, duct taped her, put her in the closet, hit her over the head with a candelabra, and then she put the wedding gown on. And she comes down the aisle, the veil's covering her face, so of course everybody thinks it's Victoria, and as she walks down, and then there's the big reveal, pull the veil up and it's crazy Trisha, and she ends up having a gun under her bouquet, and pulls the gun out because Victoria eventually someone finds her. She gets undone. She comes into the sanctuary, and Trisha has the gun. And to make a long story short, she goes to shoot Victoria, and I play the hero, and I jump in the way. No, and I get shot in the back like twice, and it took me a couple days to die, but yeah, it was.
So you kind of knew
I died a hero.
So when you get
got
the
it,
script, you kind of know like a week or so in advance that you're pretty much done.
Yeah. Well, I knew.
What's that like?
I knew 2 months in advance.
2 months.
Well,
so what's it like going to work every day knowing that this is going to be the end?
Yeah, that's a good question because when they came to me, I was at a point in my time on the show to where I was going back and forth. I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to stay or not anyway.
Right.
And then Ed came in to me, who I love dearly, Ed Scott. He's a executive producer, is Bold and Beautiful now, and he came in and said, "Man, I cannot believe that they're doing this," because it was a head writers kind of thing, and they were looking for ratings at the time, and they said, "We have to get rid of a big character, and you're gonna die." I said, "Oh, okay, great." And I was ready to move on anyway at that time in my career,
Right.
and that's when I went on to Nashville and had a country music career. So, but it was bittersweet because after I was on that show for about 12 years.
Wow.
And that when you're on a show like that with the same people day in and day out for that many years, they really become like a second family. And so that was the hardest part was knowing I was going to be leaving the people.
Yeah.
But it made my final scenes dying with Victoria easier to do because it was very real. It was very emotional. Wow. So, but yeah, so that's I have died on a show and. Yeah, that was probably the hardest stuff I've ever done because it was hard to leave the people I knew and loved.
How about like a storyline that's like really? I know there was a couple on General Hospital where you had a child getting killed by a car accident.
Oh yeah, that's
what was your hardest scene?
That's
like that way.
That
you just
way.
Looked at the writer and say, "Really, we have to go there."
Oh man, you know what? I fortunately any time I've played a father, they've never taken it there, or that would be the hardest thing for me to do
Right.
is to do a Jake storyline
Right.
where that's my child, and I guess watching that was really hard to watch, as a supporting actor to Becky.
Yeah.
And watching that whole scenario unfold, that was hard. And I've never been put in a position that hard to where it's a child and it's my own child, and because that would be really tough.
That's tough to go into character.
No, come on.
Yeah, because you have to go places there where it's like, oh man, you almost feel guilty for going there and stealing those emotions
Yeah.
for something like that.
Those tears are real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
They're not putting that
because we can all
liquid.
relate. We all of us on that show. Steve and Becky and I and anybody who was involved in that could relate to Jonathan Jackson. We all have children,
Right. Exactly.
and so it was something very that would hit too close to home almost.
So did you guys ever get a script where you look at the writers and say, really, do we really want to do this? Something along the lines like that. I mean, do you ever look at something and you're saying, this is not good?
Let's see. I you know what? Probably we've gotten scripts where we've looked at something and gone really like it's so out there and wacky as you can well imagine. Sometimes the shows are pretty out there and they get pretty out there.
Yeah.
And wacky. I think I was fortunate enough to be involved when I was on YNR. Everything was at the time I was on that show. It was all about relationships and relational conflict. Now, when my wife, Days of Our Lives, kind of went to places where there were aliens and people possessed and heads spinning around.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're going.
That's crazy.
Really? And they've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of like Passions. You know, when Passions was on, you know, you had the doll that came to life, and that you're going, wow,
So?
how am I going to make? Yeah. So
What's wrong with that?
you're going, how am I going to? How am I going to make this real? That's a challenge. Well, you know what? A way to look at it is, okay, this is a challenge. This is our challenge today. We're going to make this as real as possible, and you have to try to, and that's the other thing that's fun about soap operas is because every day is a challenge. You know, you get and it's a collaborative effort. You know, it's a team. You got to be a team player because
Right,
it's
exactly.
an ensemble.
Exactly.
And we're all working together to try to figure out, okay, you know what? You might get a script where you go, wow, how is this going to happen? And then, you know, you all kind of work together. You'll run lines and figure things out and make it work, you know, and make it palatable and cohesive, and that's the fun part of doing it too, the challenging part of it.
I think you're the only person that got arrested from any police department in any soap opera. How come none of the cops can ever catch the bad guy?
That's funny.
Why is that?
You're right.
Well, that would end the storyline. You don't want to do that. It's gotta. You gotta draw it out.
Yeah, but I mean,
my mother.
I watch it.
Even my
I watch
crazy
it.
mother keeps breaking out.
She gets stabbed. She gets shot. She gets buried alive.
I know,
then
and now she's back with a knife, right?
she's back with a knife.
She's tough.
And she's like Jason from Friday the 13th.
Yeah, she keeps coming back.
I know. You can't
they
kill
can't
her.
catch her.
I know.
They throw her in a mental institution
You know
27
what?
times.
And that she's. I miss everybody over at GH, but Robin's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she is unbelievable. She's really crazy. I mean, she's
in real life.
Yeah, and I'll tell her that, and she laughs. But she is so much fun to work with, and she's so good, and she's not too far off from Heather. She's not a killer, but but she is really funny, and I love her to death. She is just the sweetest person, and so easy to work with, and I love. And that's why I love working with Becky, because we're such good friends off camera.
Right.
You know, she was like my sister,
Yeah.
on camera. So, and that's the beauty of finding people to work with that you have real relationships with outside of work, or that you click with at work, like Heather. I called her Heather, like Robin. See, it's that close.
You can. No, definitely.
So,
But poor Chuck. What's
poor
the story?
Chuck. Poor Chuck, man. Poor Chuck, man. Poor Chuck was. To us was kind of a phenomenon. It was we had no
Took a mind of its own.
Yeah, it took on a life of its own, and we had no idea that it would ever do what it did. I mean, our goal was in the beginning was to, you know, I always say this because Steve's fantasy was to have an 80s rock band at his disposal that he could just like go. He loves the 80s,
Yeah.
And so do I, and the 80s were good, and so. He knew from my musical background that time period where I was just strictly doing music on the road with a record deal. He said, let's take that experience. And I think, you know, he knew Brandon sang, he knew Brad sang. And he said, let's put together an 80s cover band and call it, you know, we actually were like, what are we going to call it? And we took some time, we threw names in a hat, and and then Port Charles came. We were talking about Port Charles. We're like, Chuck, you know, and so our first show was at the CMA Music Fest in Nashville, the Country Music Fest, in 2009, I think. 2010.
2010.
2010. Okay, that was thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
She was in labor then, I think.
You were in labor that night.
She called for tickets when she was in labor. Yeah.
So we, we had no idea. We were in Music City and ABC. We were all, we're all on the show, and they, the CMA, Country Music Association, brought daytime actors to the CMA Music Fest because it was the same audience, really. I mean, the demographics the same for people who listen to country music and watch soap operas. So they said, hey, would you guys like to come do a first show with your band at the ABC block party at the CMA Fest. It's a big area in the middle of the city. They have a big tent. And we said, sure, So we said, let's put together some songs and put together a 45 minute set. And we thought, hey, you know what? If there's 150, 200 GH fans there, we'll have a blast. Get to share something with them that another side of us that they haven't seen.
Right.
And so we got there, we started playing, and before we knew it, the tent, which held about 500 people, was full and overflowing out into the street.
Wow.
We're like, what? Wow, what's happening? And pretty soon, one of the marketing guys came up to us and said, there was about 1,400 people that showed up. We're like, what? And because they heard this band playing, and they're going, what is that? And so we said, man, there's something to this, I think. So we said, that's when we took it to the next level. And we started rehearsing all the time, and that's when we started putting together and scheduling our first tour, and it was magical. I mean, we are 4 distinctly different guys, I would say, in our
definitely.
musical taste, in our personalities, the way we communicate, but it's amazingly cohesive. And I think it's because of our we're like 4 brothers,
Right.
And we love each other like brothers, and it worked. And we're like, wow, we couldn't let go of that, because that just doesn't happen all the time. It was a special thing. So, and it's been 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 years almost. 4 solid years of doing this, and so. I was just with Steve the other night, and we were reminiscing and about Port Chuck and how much fun we've had, and seeing everybody and seeing all of the fans, and we've gotten to know a lot of fans as friends,
Right.
like these girls here tonight, because we've seen them, and guys, and a lot of guys. It's great.
More guys are coming out.
Our favorite thing is to see.
More guys are coming out.
It's we have a bunch of women, and then all of a sudden we see those guys who brave the storm, and we're like, yeah.
Well, it's 80s music, right?
It's 80s music. Yeah,
why wouldn't you want to listen to
everybody
that?
can relate to 80s music.
Absolutely.
Loves 80s, and so, we were talking to you. We were like, man, we got to keep having farewell tours. This can't end. So I in our heart of hearts, I think we all know that we're not done yet.
No.
So there's still more to come.
But there's one question everybody always asks me.
Yeah.
Who picked Steve to rap? Whose idea was that?
Wow.
Whose idea was that?
You know what? I know Steve.
Did you put names in a hat and his name got drawn?
You know what, Steve?
'Cause he doesn't look like a rapper, in all honesty.
Vanilla Ice.
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother. Steve.
That's stretching it.
Yeah.
Steve's gonna watch this. He's
Of
gonna
course.
Dino. Oh, would just wait.
Maybe he'll follow me on Twitter. He just started following me.
Oh man, Steve is awesome, man. Steve is really he has been the inspiration behind Port Chuck from the beginning. It was his idea, and he's always been, back in the day, you could probably dig up some old stuff that he wrote and rapped stuff. I mean, from a long time ago. And he's from Ohio, and he's an Ohio kid. So he's always had a passion for that. And he always says, I don't sing, I don't do, So I said, and he can sing. I'll tell you a story after we're done, but his passion has always been rap. He's always loved rapping and rappers, and that's been his heart musically. And so we found, he's like, you know what, I love this, and this. So we found songs that fit that, and I think he does an awesome job. I think it fits with what we do. It totally fits him, and I think it mixes it up just enough to it. Again, you get with Brad, you get don't you want me, baby? It's Brandon's like Bob Dylan, and of course I obviously.
You're multi-talented.
I no,
Face it,
Joe.
you're multi-talented.
I love, I'm a big I'm a big Bon Jovi, Aerosmith guy, and the funny thing is, I grew up on country, on traditional country. My dad's all we listened to, so and Elvis, so we mixed all that in, and then Steve is our rap guy, and so I think everybody gets a taste of everything across the board, and I think it's a nice balance, and then when we do stuff together, it's pretty awesome.
So basically, we're saying it's not over.
Doesn't sound like it.
What's ever over?
Nothing.
What does over mean?
So Emily, what do you got to say about this?
About Port Chuck?
About Port Chuck.
I love Port Chuck. I mean, they're all kind of like family. Those guys feel like, I don't know. I would say uncles. That makes Bradford and Brandon sound really old, though. They're not that old, but they feel like kind of like big brother,
We're
uncle.
like mid-30s, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, they could be
Sure.
my uncle. Yeah, they've become like family. So they're kind of like my uncles. Steve is like my second dad. He's always been like that. So they're like family. It's fun. It's fun to go watch them rock out together and to go cheer them on at their shows, and totally freak out. It's fun. But yeah, I love Port Chuck.
You look at him and say, Dad, what are you doing?
No, well, to be honest, when they first told me about it, when my dad was like, "Yeah, we're gonna start this '80s cover band," I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
That's a typical daughter answer.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder.
You're gonna embarrass me, Dad. What are you doing?
I was like, I mean,
Are you changing
how
your
cool
name?
could that really be?
Again?
Well, yeah, Pork Chuck, and then I heard that, and I was like pork chop? Like, what are you
Pork
saying?
chop.
But then once I saw them
puppets?
play, like in rehearsal, I was like, dang, like they're pretty good. Like I was like, I'm pretty excited about this.
And I have to give props to our band, because
Oh yeah, they're phenomenal.
they
They're great.
when we first came, when Steve approached me with it, I said, but we have to do it right. I said, so I put together a band out of Nashville, guys that I had played with for quite a few years, and these guys were players, and I knew, and a lot of them before they were in Nashville playing with a bunch of country artists and touring with them, they were in LA playing rock. I mean, they were hair band, rock band guys. So I'm like, these are the perfect guys for this. These guys were '80s babies, and
They look the part, too.
totally.
They got the long hair.
Yeah, and they're just so good and so talented, and they're the real deal. So I knew with them behind us, I think that's kind of what kind of took people aback. They're like, "What?" I think when we played CMA Fest the first time, I think initially when they heard we were coming, people might have thought, "Oh, it's four soap guys with a garage band," and as soon as we plugged in and counted it off, people were like, it was a real band, which was pretty cool.
How about a tour bus story?
Oh gosh, I could go on for days.
Like
Give
whose
me an
girlfriend or
account.
wife is like constantly texting and calling like it's a nuisance?
You know what? You know what? It's funny that the tour bus life. It's not as it would probably be boring to most people, our bus, because, or maybe charming, or it's the best. And I've had tour bus experiences back when I was touring with Blue County in the country world, and the Port Chuck's tour bus. There's 13 of us on a bus that sleeps 12.
Oof.
Yeah, and so you can imagine what that smells like at the end of 9 days.
Oof.
And it's like a petri dish. Things are growing in the back, and
My house smells like it.
yeah, a whole bus load full of guys. But it's a bus load of guys that are we're happily married. We have families, and if anything, I think the wackiest stuff. I'm probably the craziest guy on there as far as doing uncomfortable dances out in public so they could videotape
Climbing
me.
clocks.
Climbing clocks. Yeah, climbing clocks. They have a videotape. I probably shouldn't say this, but it was one of Brandon and Bradford's favorite things I did. We were in this video will never get out into the public eye, but we were actually this took place right here in Point Pleasant. We were parked. The bus was parked. If you're on your way down to Ocean,
Right.
the bus there's a long narrow parking lot.
Right.
That's right by a little body of water.
Yep.
Well, our bus was parked there, empty, no one for days. And Steve and I were on the bus, and Brandon and Bradford were out playing football catch. And Steve and I was changing, And so I was down in my underwear, and Steve goes, "Go run out there and play catch with him. Don't tell him." So of course he videotapes the whole thing of me running out in the parking lot in my underwear, and they're like, cars going by, and I'm like,
Now, what time of day was this?
What?
What time of the day was this?
Oh, it was like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, prime time. Nice.
It was yeah.
And no soap fans in the audience watching at all.
You know what? Fortunately, nobody saw that.
You could have sold tickets to that.
Dino's like,
I'm holding on to that video for my retirement. But that's as crazy as we get, and it's for each other's entertainment. And and then stupid stuff on the bus. But other than that, we're like a bunch of brothers, and everybody kind of gets in their bunk and goes into their own little world and texts their wives and watches movies, and that's about as exciting as it gets on our bus. So
wow.
I mean, everybody gets along unbelievably well. It's kind of amazing. I mean, because I've been on tour buses back in the day when, man, you could have some conflicts with personalities, and being in a enclosed space for that long.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, and you go, you get a little cabin fever, but oh my gosh, everybody is just so grateful to be out doing what we're doing and having an amazing time, getting to spend time with amazing people and playing for amazing crowds.
Wow.
And it's awesome. I mean, I told him, I said, I've done the music world, the other way. And I said, I've never had more fun doing music in my life than the way we're doing it.
Nice.
I probably shouldn't have told the underwear story now.
I'm glad you did.
That's all right. We just picked up viewers. Wow.
Ryan's calculating over there. What do we got? An extra 50.
So what do you think? General Hospital? Possibility?
You know what? I never
You're
say
in
never.
jail now.
I'm in. Well, yeah. They didn't. I didn't die. The reason I have to clarify. The reason I left. It was my decision.
Yeah.
I mean, It came at a time where Frank was great. Frank Valentini was great. He was very gracious and didn't want me to leave. But it came at a time where my wife was working. Her schedule got really busy, and we're based in Nashville, and so my wife and I would have to go back and forth. And thank the Lord, I have amazing kids, and my son Larry, he was 14, 15 at the time, and he was in school, and he would stay with Emily when we'd have to go. Sometimes it would be for a few days at a time, right. But after a while, I said, "Man, I really have to be back there with." I mean, Emily was 20, 21, and doing her thing, and lived on her own. And when we'd be gone, he'd stay with her, and I'm like, "Man, he's 15. I got to be with him, and I really have to be with him all the time." And so I told Frank, I just said, I really need to be home in Nashville with my kids. One of us does at all times. And so that's why I had to leave. And he totally understood that. And, he left an open, he said, anytime you are welcome here and you have a home anytime.
So he threw you in jail.
And so he threw me in jail.
Okay, well.
Yeah,
That's good.
And that's not permanent.
No.
No. So,
I mean, even getting shot in the back and having a funeral isn't permanent on a soap opera.
No, of course not.
Anyway, now, Larry is homeschooling again, and because we did have to start traveling more, me for music and going to LA for various meetings, and so now whenever he's with me, Missy was in Nashville when we came here this weekend. That's why he didn't come. So now he's able to come with me wherever I go. So that kind of freed me up a little bit. So now I'm kind of at this point where we're doing this, and there may be some TV possibilities. So I never say never.
Nashville should be calling you.
And that what? And that's
You're there already.
I am there already. That would be.
Sounds like something's in the works. You never know.
That would be.
Played at the club, right?
Yeah, I played.
I mean,
you're living the life. I mean, come on.
You know what? So I'm open. I'm open for anything.
Not that anybody from Nashville is watching this. I'm sure.
But if they are,
Hey man, you never know.
Tweet you out there.
Dino,
You know, we jumped 4,000
You're
spots
huge.
on Stitcher Radio.
We're
last
big on
week.
Stitcher.
On Stitcher?
Yeah.
What's Stitcher? Come on, it's a comedy
It's an
club.
app. It's an app. You get to listen to
I'm
podcasts
kidding.
on Stitcher.
I'm,
Radio. You know what Stitcher
I'm
is?
kidding you, man.
All right, good.
I'm kidding you. No, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna retweet you guys, and I'm gonna tweet the heck out of this. We got to build this. We got to build just like I want to build the Nashville Nights thing. We want to keep coming back, and we want to keep growing.
You gotta come back.
Yeah,
Definitely
Please.
come back, right, guys? Yes. We got the studio audience here.
We're coming
tonight.
back.
Look at us.
Yeah, right.
Hardcores.
That's right.
You guys gotta get going. Guys, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much.